what's it like to be in the press pen when he points in your direction and says, look at those despicable individuals?
I didn't enjoy it. If you cover his rallies, you sit there for 45 minutes as he tells lie after lie, and then at some point he'll point up at the press pen and say, look at those lying people, look at those disgusting, horrible people, and all the Trump supporters will turn around and jeer and on occasion flip the bird at the press. It's a winning applause line for him. It's not a thrill for the journalists.
Well, you point out that the journalists who are covering him, who are on that Trump beat, they've pretty much given up fact-checking because what's the point? They've caught him in so many whoppers, and yet it doesn't seem to make any kind of an impact.
Well, I don't think they've given up fact-checking. I mean, you can look at the work that David did, and that's still going on. It's just that, when he tells the same lie 20 times, after the 12th time, it sort of ceases to be news, and the reporter struggles to understand how to report that again, for the 15th time. How do you make that still relevant? And it doesn't seem to have any impact on Trump himself.
David, I want you to speak to my father, who I know is watching this right now and thinking, see, now the media is ganging up on him because they want to protect Hillary. Now that Trump's the nominee, you're all coalescing in your effort to take him down.
Well, that's certainly not, I think imputing that level of coordination to the news media comes from people who don't understand how we actually work. The thing for me is, I started checking into these donations. Trump had the fundraiser to raise the money on January 28th. I started checking into them a couple of weeks later and wrote the first story, which said that only about half the money had gone out in early March. At that point, there were a lot of other candidates still in the race, and obviously we weren't doing that because we wanted to protect Hillary Clinton. I was doing that as fast as I could, but Trump's people made it hard to get the information. And I think there were a lot of things written about Trump in the past when there were other candidates in the Republican race. It just didn't seem to matter. And the candidates that were running against him often seemed unwilling to use the coverage of Trump against him because they often wanted to appeal to the same people. The other thing is that we're now outside of a cycle of debates and primary nights, which sort of serve to break up the news cycles and return attention to things that Trump wanted to talk about. We're now in this long stretch before the convention where there's not much else to do, and Trump doesn't have any sort of external news events to break up the coverage. It's just about what people are finding out about him and asking him.
Seth, final question for you. What concerns you the most about a President Trump on the specific issue of media access?
Well, a lot of a president's relationship with the press is based on polite norms that we've built up over the decades. I don't think there's a lot to stop a President Trump from completely ignoring the media. I mean, you can imagine a President Trump communicating only in tweets. You can imagine him not letting the press ride on Air Force One. You could imagine him in a fit of pique kicking the New York Times out of the White House Correspondents Association. Those things are not that hard for me to picture.
Yep, I can see it. David Fahrenthold, Seth Stevenson, thank you both. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
You would